So, America's salesman, also known as the president, addressing the nation last night. President Trump giving a rapid-fire 18-minute crisp speech, highlighting some bright spots in his economy, like rising wages, falling energy prices. Trump emphasizing that he's still fixing the mess from the previous administration, for example.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years. Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history. Do you remember when Joe Biden said that he needed Congress to pass legislation to help close the border? He was always blaming Congress and everyone else. As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president.
Yep. And after pumping up the idea that the president was losing energy, the media changed its stance. Their biggest complaint last night, his delivery was too fast, and he interrupted Greg's favorite show, Survivor.
You know who interrupted primetime programming for a mile-a-minute speech?
I can say with a lot of confidence that people did not want the finale of Survivor interrupted.
He sounds like a used car salesman. Like he is selling nothing but lemons.
It was an angry old man shouting from the hills, shouting at the kids to get off their lawn.
One exaggeration after another exaggeration after another exaggeration.
Tried to convince Americans the sky is green, that trees can walk.
I am not scared of that guy. This is the first time I've seen a Donald Trump I'm not afraid of.
He was shouting at times. He seemed a little angry, like, why do I have to give this speech?
What? I can't believe that was the interpretation, but I don't want to lead the four witnesses that are about to take on this very topic. It was too quick. He was talking too loud. He had too much energy. He didn't want to give the speech. Dana, is that how you would describe it?
Well, as somebody who usually goes to bed before the speech was given and I stayed up, it was high energy and it was loud. And he wants to be on offense on this issue. He has a lot of successes to talk about. The border, the point he made about Biden for the last 18 months saying there was nothing that they could do about the border because Congress hadn't acted was not true. He proved it within 1 week. And Americans have short political memories. So reminding them about that is important. If you think back to when we would do the polls right before the election, what's the most important issue? The border being out of control. You take that one off the table, then people are like, you know what? The prices that were too high under Biden, they're still too high. I think the best thing that the president has going for him is time. So it's December. We're going into the holidays. He gives a speech, and people can argue about the speech when they go home for Christmas if they want to, or they can just have a good time with their families. But he has time for some of these things to set in. So the energy production, the tax changes for businesses that go into effect in January. I don't actually think that the no tax on tips is going to have that big of an effect on the economy. But for those people saying, I feel like things are too high, all of those little pieces might add up. But over time, if he can keep this trajectory going, it takes inflation a long time to come down. He also had an interesting part in his speech where he talked about the wage increases for different types of workers. If you were a miner, if you were an oil worker, I thought those things were effective. But I think staying on offense where they can is going to be important. Getting on the field and just saying, okay, like this is the play for today. People don't like this speech. I didn't think it was the best speech he's ever given. And I think he loves to be off a teleprompter where he can just riff and he comes up with the best way to be conversational about things. The thing he has in his favor right now is time going into the midterms.
And the other thing is he does better in front of an audience. And when you put him in the Oval Office or something like that, he wants to compensate for the energy that maybe the audience wasn't feeding him. But the big complaint, Jesse, we heard the president was getting tired, remember? They were saying on the other channels that there was, he's not the same guy with the same zip, the same fastball. I didn't think that. I was really surprised by the critiques that came out last night.
Yeah, like Van Jones isn't scared of him anymore.
I didn't know he was scared of him.
Van Jones has been terrified his whole life of Donald Trump. Men should never admit they're scared of other men. I hated the speech. I thought he was going to come out and look America right in the eye and say, we're going to invade Greenland. And he didn't do that. And that left me wanting.
Right. Okay.
Dana said it wasn't his best speech, and I would agree in terms of the way he delivered it. But it might have been his most effective speech because you had the entire country watching, and it was 20 minutes. So it's a direct injection of all of his accomplishments that the media doesn't cover. And I think it's important to get that out there. He closed the border. Transgenderism is gone. Drugs brought in by ocean are down 94%. He ended the Iranian nuclear program. He ended the war in Gaza. $3,000 you lost under Biden. You're gaining $1,000 under Donald Trump. 100% of the jobs that have been created in the first year have gone to Americans, and they've gone to the private sector. That's incredible. The big, beautiful bill's kicking in next year, so you're going to get tax cuts, you're going to get the no tax on tips, Social Security, and all that stuff. But he says this is going to be the largest tax refund season of all time. And you add the military checks to the tax refunds, to all of the tax incentives that are in there for small business and individuals, next year is setting up for one of the greatest booms of all time. He also slashed drug and pharmaceutical prices. Gasoline is down to under $3 a gallon. We're going to set up 1,600 electrical plants, lower interest rates, and the fact that you're not having all these illegal aliens pour in, housing costs are coming down, rent's coming down. I thought it was a great speech, and none of these things the Democrats can argue with, because these are all great things for everybody in the country.
But even on border, he's around 50%. I mean, who says, well, he's not doing a good enough job on the border, Jessica? He shut it down. No one's coming through. I thought that was the goal. So the one thing he did get good news today, core inflation was supposed to be 3.1. It was 2.7, and the market went through the roof. Your thoughts?
So the border and immigration policy are surveyed separately. So yes, on the border, he has high marks. But
like 51 is still low compared to what he should get.
Okay, I'm sorry. You know, the country's split. It's polarized. But on immigration, he's at -6. In terms of the inflation number, it definitely was beating expectations. But if you actually looked at the data, it's missing numbers on the key areas that are costing you more. So no data from October, November on food, shelter, and healthcare. But the gas number was in there because the gas prices are falling. So just take it with a grain of salt. I hope that inflation goes down. We will all be happier. We'll be able to buy more. It'll be a wonderful America if that's true. But they're out there parading around a number that isn't based on any data. Literally, the columns are empty there. I expected something really novel last night, that he was going to have a big rollout like the Trump accounts, and we didn't get that at all. It was a series of the greatest hits, acting like Joe Biden gave him 9% inflation, but Joe Biden gave him 2.9% inflation. So everything is hanging around where it was. I mean, it's objectively true, Jesse. He said that prices are going down. That's not right.
That's how high all the prices went up, Jessica.
He said unemployment is down. It's up to 4.6%, where it hasn't been since 2021. He said that he secured $18 trillion in investment. I asked Grok about that, and Grok said the White House own tallies list totals at around 8.8 to 9.6 trillion, but they include commitments from the Biden administration, double counting, and pledges that were likely to occur regardless due to AI development. Then the crazy stuff like on bringing down drug prices by 600%. I don't know if you saw John Roberts asking Howard Lutnick about that today. You can't bring down prices by 600%. The drug companies aren't paying you to take the medication. And then this warrior dividend. Now, that was the thing where I said, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be like the Trump checks or something. This is amazing. But it's not. He's taking already allocated funds that were supposed to go towards housing subsidies for our troops and branding them with his 1776 Trump sticker. So you get a bonus, but you lose a benefit. It's not coming from the tariff pot. It's already been allocated. That is dishonest, and that is very uncool. If there is another explanation, I would love to hear it. But if that is your big marketing item from all of this, and you are just taking money from troops that are moving to a more expensive place and need extra money to live in San Diego, so you can say that you gave them a rebate that's not even from that tariff pot, not uncool.
I understand it is coming from the tariff pot. Greg Gutfeld, do you want to close?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I hope you're wrong.
Everywhere.
And if you are wrong, I hope you admit it. You know what this was? This was a bait and switch. The media, much like Jesse, they expected something big, monstrous, exciting, and new. Instead, what did he do? Just showed up. He said, hey, what you up to? Got some time? I want to tell you what I've been up to. This is what I did last year. This is what I'm going to do next year. So we got all the people that might not have tuned in to tune in. And there was so much they had to talk about. He had to talk fast. He couldn't waste any time. In terms about the polling over immigration, who would you rather have as a president? A guy who's on his last term worried about his polling, or somebody who says, I got 3 years to create long-term lasting benefits, and I don't care if my numbers drop. I got to get all the illegals out. The process will get ugly at times. We might make mistakes, but I'm going to take that risk because long-term, we got to save this country. Trump sees popularity as currency, meaning it should be spent. You don't hoard it like it's gold. What's the point of exiting the presidency with all this approval and polling when you didn't do squat? That's what the Democrats do. All they do care about is the polling. He's like, I think, what's your name again, Brian? I think you're right. He's never been a fan of the Oval Office address. It's too one-way. He's a performer. He likes responses. He likes people laughing. Imagine a comedian doing his performance to no one. Just ask Kimmel. That's what you can tell it on his face. It's like, I just want to get through this. I don't have time for this. But as predicted, and I think I said this yesterday, Dan, and you could back me up. Can you go back and do some research on what I said yesterday? Sure. Thank you. It was a battle between the measurable and the amorphous. The media did not attack the measurable elements, the number of illegals, the trans issue, taxes. They focus on sound and appearance, the things that they can't quantify, and that's to be expected. He rolled out dozens of practical things that have happened and that will happen, and they go, wow, he seems so sad. I'm not scared of him anymore. God forbid you actually heard what you said. I'm interested, though, in Jessica and what you just said, because that was news to me.
Okay, so Defense One, I think, was the first to report it. This reporter, Thomas Novelli, I don't know. President Donald Trump's 1776 checks for more than 1 million troops announced Wednesday comes from congressionally allocated reconciliation funds intended to subsidize housing allowances for service members, a senior administration official confirmed.
So it's not from tariffs? Well, that kind of sucks.
So we're not taking the money.
You're taking the money from their housing and you're giving it to them.
So we're stealing the money from troops and then giving it back to troops.
It's just that if you're going to do,
it's not a bonus. It's money they were already getting.
But it's a way
maybe we'll believe you.
But the Defense Department has the ability to reallocate monies that have already been approved by Congress. The new tariff money, wherever it exists,
the phantom money,
that would have to come through Congress, and then next year when they do the budget and everything. But the Defense Department can say, okay, well, when they do the budget, we'll take the tariff money and put that back in the account. That's what they can do.
Ah, I see. So they're giving this out now as a Christmas bonus, and they're going to replenish it with the other stuff. Jessica, how dare you?
The way it was sold was not great.
I
agree, it wasn't great.
But here's the thing. No. To look at that speech and go, he was nervous. I'm not afraid of him. He is out of touch. It was too loud. Like, what are you talking about?
I get it, though. They don't have anything else.
He was a panicking.
Donald Trump at 79 is finally going to panic
in the room after. He's like, how'd it look? And Susie Wiles, the reporting was, wanted him to do this.
Right.
Okay.
Whatever.
I accept all of your apologies.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.